All right, welcome to Next Gen Bets.
All I ever wanted was a black Grand National. Fuck being rational.
This is the Thanksgiving special. We got 3 great games coming up on this Thanksgiving slate.
Don't celebrate holidays. Bet on sports.
Do that, all right? And if you're not watching NFL football at the Thanksgiving table, you're at the wrong fucking table, all right? Now, moving into the first game, we got the Bears in Detroit playing against the Lions, all right? We start with these odds, minus 10.5 spread for Detroit, okay? The over and under is 48.5, and Detroit's money line right now is minus 530, with the Bears being at plus 450.
Bears come into this one 4-7, 0-4 on the road. That's worth noting. Lions 10-1 at overall and 4-1 at home. Also worth noting. Only loss is at home.
Yeah, and it was a pretty rough loss, but hey. Anyways, next we have 2 dog shit teams playing against each other in Jerry Worlds. We got the Giants without Danny Jones, because we know he's out of there, all right? Playing against the Cowboys without Dak Prescott. No quarterbacks, apparently, all right? The current line right now, the Cowboys are somehow favored at home, even though I haven't won there yet this year.
The Giants are real bad.
The Giants are super bad. Minus 3.5 favorites for the Cowboys. The current over and under is 37.5, and the Cowboys are minus 198 when it comes to money line.
Giants are 2-9 overall, 2-3 on the road. Cowboys 4-7, 0-5 at home. So it's 2 teams that have yet to win a home game. Does that change this week? And will the blinds be down?
Most likely not. Jerry doesn't fuck around with that shit. Moving into the night game, the most exciting game of the day.
Miami Dolphins!
Potentially, depending on who you ask. I don't know, all right? So we got the Dolphins playing in Green Bay against the Packers. The Packers are currently favorites right now. They're minus 3.5 favorites. The over-under right now is set at 47 flat. And the Packers are minus 167 money line.
Dolphins come in at 5-6 on a 3-game heater, 2-3 on the road. Packers 8-3 off a win against the Niners. They are 4-2 at home. This is by far the best game of this slate.
Without a doubt, it's going to be a good game. We'll get into that a little bit more when we get to that game. But we're going to start off by talking about the Chicago Bears playing in Detroit against the incredible Detroit Lions. Before we get into that, I'm going to talk about some straight-up Thanksgiving records. And then also how the favorites have fared against the spread since 2005. So with Detroit and Chicago, Detroit is 37-45-2 on Thanksgiving Day. That is straight up. And then the Chicago Bears are 20-15-2 straight up on Thanksgiving Day. And favorites are 36-19 against the spread since 2005. So I would keep that in mind when you're betting this on this fine Thursday. We're going to keep that in mind for sure.
Kind of some conflicting numbers there. Detroit not too great on Thanksgiving, probably because of their history. Then we see favorites have been pretty dominant. So those numbers they go against each other. Also, just to let you guys know, we got 3 bets for each game for this Thanksgiving for you guys. Our first bet, we're taking the Lions minus 10.5.
Got it.
Detroit's 4-1 against the spread at home, that one being that Bears loss that we talked about. But Chicago is 0-3-1 against the spread on the road. So you got a good team against the spread and a bad team against the spread for being a home and away team. This is probably the easiest one on our sheet today.
100%. I consider, even though it's a big spread, I think 10.5 is a lock. It was last week, right, with the Jaguars?
It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago with the Jaguars.
Last week was Indy.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 weeks ago with the Jaguars, we thought it was a big spread. It was, I believe, 14.5, something like that. Crushed it, destroyed it. 52-6, you know? So I'm not very worried about this spread. I think Detroit's going to cover it easy, and it's in Detroit, which we love.
Yeah, 10.5 is kind of a small number, I think, in this one. Really, anything under that 14, which is the 2-possession mark, that's where things get real interesting. Because we see a lot of times teams only down 7, and then they do something stupid trying to come back, and then they lose by 15 because pick 6, some fumbles, who can score, that type of thing towards the end of the game. So it's really, football's great with the 1 touchdown is worth 6 points. You can get a huge spread swing on one play. So 10's, it's really not the big of a number. It's kind of like a 4 or 5 point spread in a basketball game, which you wouldn't really think that hard about.
Most certainly.
Our next bet in this game, we have Caleb Williams, Connor's least favorite quarterback here, over 33.5 passing attempts. This is it's even. So 1 unit gets you back 1 unit. The thing I liked about this one is Caleb threw a lot his last game. And so he's hit it his last two games with the offensive switch, and then he missed it the 2 prior. But in the 2 prior that he missed, With the one game against New England, he had 30 pass attempts, the line's 33.5, but he had 9 sacks. So if you think about it, that's really a pass attempt that he's just not getting the ball off. And if you watch them play, one of the things they worked on with the offensive coordinator switch is Caleb getting the ball out. Also, tends to throw more in losses. They had a loss earlier in the season where he threw over 50 pass attempts. I don't remember exactly how many it was, but he threw over 50 pass attempts. I believe that was down in Arizona week 2. And this is a game they're going to lose. So he's going to have to try to throw the ball to get them points. And they're down by 15 towards the end of the game, throwing us pick sixes to make that spread even better for Detroit. So this kind of works with our previous bet. And I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. We have Detroit covering, but in the NFL, you don't go down without swinging. So they're going to go down swinging. They're going to have Caleb Williams throw the ball. I also think they're not going to be able to get the run game going simply because their line isn't good. It's not good for their passing game, but if you can't run, you might as well try to pass. So Caleb Williams has been throwing it a lot every game up to this point. He's going to keep throwing it a lot until the end of the season or until he breaks.
I think they're also trying to make his stats look good. Not saying he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but they're worried about his development. So if they can make it, he threw for 300 yards. People in Chicago like that, even though they're losing football games.
And that just kind of shows the intelligence of an average Chicago fan. But or USC quarterback. But I'm going to move on.
Last bet in this game. This one kind of goes against the two things I just said, but we're taking Chicago's fourth quarter 3-way money line at plus 190. This is great value if you look at the numbers. Betting slightly over a half unit to win our unit size. So at plus 190, that's kind of just like a little like 0.26 of a unit or 0.54 of a unit to get to 50, whatever the math is for you guys on that one. Chicago averages 7.5 points in the fourth quarter. Detroit averages 4.5. I was looking at this game. I wanted to bet it the other way. I wanted to take Detroit's fourth quarter spread at minus 2.5 because I thought that was low for what Detroit is. But then when you look at the numbers in the fourth quarter points, Detroit scored a lot in their last 3 games in the fourth quarter. But besides that, they haven't. I think they've only scored 1 touchdown in the first 8 games of the season in the fourth quarter. So. And it's those games, like we said, it's Jacksonville, it's Indy, it's these blowout games where they're just kind of running up the score, having fun. And maybe they do that in this one, but maybe they just score nothing because they're up so many. Chicago will be fighting, presumably because we expect them to be down, and they can put up some points to try to win the game. We saw Green Bay do that when they were down 14, or they're down 16 against Detroit. They ended up scoring 8 in the fourth quarter. Detroit had a field goal or maybe nothing, so that's why the point spreads look like this. Teams that are winning a lot, they obviously don't have to score much in the fourth quarter when they're winning by, the 10.5 points that we need Detroit to get to.
Agreed. Going into our 4:30 game, the least exciting game of the entire sequence today, or on Thursday, I should say. We got the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. When it comes to the straight up records,
they're off.
Yeah, they're not great. On the season, they're terrible. I didn't pull the Giants straight up record on Thanksgiving, but the Cowboys are 33-22-1 on Thanksgiving straight up.
Not bad.
Hey, it's not the worst, but if you look at the record this season, it's kind of a tough sight. But like we said earlier, we got 3 bets for this one.
So this one is probably the least exciting game of the 3 because it's 2 non-playoff teams. At least the Detroit game, you've got the number 1 pick and a playoff team. It's 2 jokes of a teams, big markets, but jokes of teams. These are probably the bets I'm most excited for. I really like 2 of these 3 a lot. I almost if we were doing a normal week where we'd have a lock of the week, these 2 would be fighting for the lock of the week. We got some good numbers to back up these bets. And then we kind of got a feel bet at the end. But starting with my favorite one, we got the total rush yards for both teams over 239.5 yards. I almost thought about making this a double unit bet just because, but these teams average, the Giants are second last in the league, averaging 150 yards allowed, 150 rush yards allowed. Dallas third worst, allowing 147. The only team worst is Carolina. When Carolina and the Giants played, we saw both of those running backs combine for over 300 yards. These 2 allow 198 yards or 298 yards, and the line here is just 240 rushing yards. That counts quarterbacks, that counts wide receivers. When CeeDee Lamb lines up at halfback, we've seen that a couple times from Dallas. We see DeVito get some drawn up rush plays. So we got basically a 60-yard difference in what the teams average allow and what the line is. That's great as far as betting goes. That's what you love to see, something like that.
You got to take value like that when you can. I don't know what the discrepancy is. I don't know why the books are sleeping on the rushing yards, but we're going to try to take advantage of that. Hopefully we cash that over 239.5. I see it happening quite easily, but maybe I'm just optimistic. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And to go along with the rush yards, we have Cooper Rush under 1 interception. This one is at minus 105, so really close to even there. Cooper Rush, since Dak's injury, 135 pass attempts, only 1 interception. That's pretty good numbers for betting him to go a whole game. We looked at his attempts, thinking about the under with the rush yard statistic we give you, but it was a little sketchy with the way the lines were. This one's much better. He's probably only going to throw the ball 25 to 30 times. We expect definitely less than 30, maybe even closer to that 20 margin. Probably not going to throw a pick. Giants secondary not very good. And if they're running the ball well, he really doesn't have to throw the ball up in harm's way. These teams are going to know what the rush yards allowed are. They know the weaknesses of their opponent. They're going to know they want to run the ball and not to have Cooper Rush out here just slinging it and throwing interceptions. So really like this one.
Yeah, and then in the research that we were doing in the one game that he did throw a pick, or the one pick he had I believe 55 pass attempts in that game. So if we're only expecting him to throw the ball under 30 times, I'm not too stressed about him throwing over a pick. I mean, it's very unlikely considering the only time he had 55 attempts, and then all the other games he's got around 30 attempts, 20 to 30 attempts, and he's making it out alive. So.
Yeah, that was against Philly, I want to say, and that was just a really bad game for Dallas. They looked much better last week. They beat a pretty good Washington team. I don't think Philly's way ahead of Washington, and that's why the Dallas looked the way they did against Philly. But Washington's still in the playoff mix right now, and Dallas beat them on the road. That's always impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, last bet of the day, we have Dallas minus 3.5. There's not really good data on this. The data we have is the Giants' first game with Tommy DeVito. They lost by 24, and they're down 30-0 at one point. So you don't really use the data on this one, Dallas. And same with Dallas with Cooper Rush in. I think even if it was 6.5, I'd like Dallas to beat the Giants by 6.5. The way the Giants just looked, and the way Dallas looked good against Washington.
Yeah, I agree. The Cowboys are coming off a good game against Washington. Washington's a far better team than the New York Giants are. I say it's in Dallas. It's not like it's something that's a benefit up to this point this season based off of the previous history, but I do think that'll give them a bit of an edge against the Giants. And the Giants are just bad. They're going to stay bad. It's just like one of those things where these are two teams that just aren't where they should be. Well, the Giants are kind of where they've been, but the Cowboys aren't where they should be. But if you kind of look at the general lay of the land, they're where you'd expect it if you really look deep. But I do think that the Cowboys have it in them to pull off a win of over 4 points on the Giants. They're
healthier, and if you go back a couple of years, Dallas has been really good against the spread as the home team. And we know that hasn't been the case this year, but they haven't played a team like the Giants yet. So
exactly,
they did cover against the Giants earlier this year.
Exactly. Moving into our final game of this Thanksgiving slate, we have the long-awaited Miami Dolphins at the Green Bay Packers. And like we said earlier, the spread's minus 3.5 on this game right now.
This one should be the best game of the evening, I guess of the day. Sorry, of the holiday. These two teams played on Christmas in 2022, and that was a good one as well. That was the mid 4:00 game. Expected temperatures 26 degrees, no snow. I know a lot of you are out there hating on Tua in the snow, so just gotta put that out there. These bets, I really like these bets. I think they're more exciting. We got a nice long shot parlay in this game. What do you guys?
And we normally do, based off of like just us betting together. We've had success on our long shot parlays before. Before we hop into that, I did forget to mention it just now, but the Green Bay Packers straight up on Thanksgiving are 15-20-2, which favors the Dolphins. Now, the thing that favors the Dolphins even more, actually, is that the Dolphins have only played on Thanksgiving 3 times before, and in all 3 games they covered against the spread. So, will they continue that streak and make it 4 today? Or not today, but on Thursday. You know what I mean. I think that's what we're going to get into.
All right, our first bet, we'll start off with a nice juicy parlay for you. Coming in at plus 900, I got it at plus 1100 because I had a 30% profit boost on ESPN Bet. You guys should look into that. We have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Waddle for 70 plus yards, Tyreek for over 90. We saw Waddle have a great game last week. Tyreek's got to be due soon. Last time these two games played in 2022, Tyreek and Waddle both had over 100. Waddle had over 125. 70 plus yards is the highest you can bet Jalen Waddle receiving yards on ESPN Bet, and 90 is the highest for Tyreek, so you can't get over the 100, but that makes it easier for us to hit the bet. And this is kind of what I'm hoping for in this game. If these two guys go for that yards, it's not only good for my Dolphins, but it's good for our entertainment. And because Green Bay likes to sling it, Miami likes to sling it, so hopefully we can get a shootout in this nightcap.
A shootout would be great. Everybody likes to see a shootout, especially at the end of the day, like Thanksgiving. Sitting back on the couch, you're full. You can barely think. You're about to fall in and out of sleep. But the thing that's going to keep you up is a shootout between the Miami Dolphins and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, what's better than that?
Not much. Other bet we have in this game, Miami first half money line. This is plus money, plus 125. I really like that. When they played, not to keep referencing this game, but when they played, it was 20-10 Dolphins at halftime. The Dolphins are one of the better first half teams. They like to start out quick. We saw them lead the Bills and the Cardinals before losing both of those games. So really, they're on since Tua's been back, they've won 5 straight first halves, and it's really all you need to know. It's a good number for betting.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about before we go any further, all right, because I'm going a little out of order here. I'm a little squirrely, all right? But he's talking about previous games, and it reminded me. So, unders. We were talking about unders because we just talked about the over. We want the over because, we're going to be tired on Thanksgiving. Anywho, unders in the night games are 11-6 since 2006. So if you guys want to fade us, go ahead. I don't really care. And then we got the totals. When the total is over 43 or higher, or I guess that's over 43, it's 8. The unders are 8-2. So meaning when it's 43 or over, the under 43 is 8-2. So in that span, the unders are technically looking juiced, but I just think they don't know who they're talking about in this game. You got Miami, who slings as long as Tua's
alive,
as long as his brain is functioning, and then you got Green Bay, who can sling it. I feel like Green Bay's been a little bit they haven't had the offensive efficiency as they have had previously, but they still sling crazy. So the only thing that's sketchy is the cold, but we're just gonna act like that's not gonna play any effect.
We saw the Tua and the Dolphins go for over 30 points against the Bills in the snow. So I really don't think this is too much of a big deal. It's freezing temperatures, but not below 20. Everybody likes to reference that Chiefs-Dolphins playoff game, but it was like -10, -20, and it's more of an anomaly than a normal cold game, like even the snow. So I'm really not too concerned with the weather as a Dolphins fan in this one. And so we don't really have a last bet in this game for you, but like Connor said, unders are 11-6. I just can't see betting it when we want to see Waddle and Tyreek go for yards. So under 47.5 would be the play there, but we just kind of don't really feel it the way these two teams have played. And even the last game, final score ended up being 26-20, and that was with the Dolphins not scoring in the second half. I don't see that happening again. Also, Tua got a concussion in that game, that 26-20 game, so maybe if that doesn't happen, that over hits by a long shot, and we're maybe pushing to the 60s if he's playing the way he was in the first half, or 50s and 60s. 60s a little high there. And then favorites in the night games are 13-4 against the spread since 2006. So if you're looking for a good stat to back it up, take Green Bay minus the points. I just can't do it as a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, because we've been mainly talking about player props here, but I know most people tend to bet just the straight up bets on the game, so the spread, the money line, the over under. So if you want to use like a statistical background when it comes to what you should bet on the over under, there's your stats when it comes to the previous history of the over and the under, and then also the previous history of the against the spread on that game. We're just giving you what we think is going to happen when it comes to player props, and then that Miami first half money line.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is if these numbers continue, which I hope they don't for the Dolphins' sake, but I'll be taking these bets if we get an over 43 for the total next year on Thanksgiving night, and I'll be taking the favorite pretty much no matter what next year. It'll be 13-5 hopefully, or 14-4 against the spread. Still good number either way. I just can't do it. What I am probably doing like a little contingency bet here. If that Dolphins first half money line hits in the first quarter, I'll be looking to take the Packers, whatever the live spread is, because the trends kind of has them getting back towards that 3.5. Like we said, it's one possession. Dolphins can win first half by 3, and then Green Bay ends up scoring a touchdown. They have but 4, and that covers the spread, and that could be the difference in the game. And then you get both of those bets in there. So if it's halftime, Miami takes a lead, and you have that bet, definitely look at Green Bay. It'd probably be plus money if you could get that original number at -3.5. Maybe take it -2.5, and it'd still be plus money if the Dolphins win the first half.
Hell yeah.
That's all we got for you guys today. Let us know if you're gonna fade us or ride with us.
Yeah. If you're gonna fade with us, you're just a hater. No, I'm just kidding. I just like to allow a little bit of pressure. I just want you to know that we're elite bettors. And you'll find out pretty soon that the stats prove that. I'm not too worried about that. And then when are we gonna wrap? Like, when are we gonna come back and just kind of flex on everybody because we have a lot of success?
And the plan will be Tuesday. We'll come back on Tuesday after that Monday night game. Even though we don't have it, but for weeks forward on Tuesday, we'll get a recap for you guys. Then Wednesday or Thursday in that week, we'll get you a full slate moving forward. But this week, we're just giving you a nice Thanksgiving and to launch our podcast.
Yeah, so Thanksgiving special today. All right, we're starting it off slow, giving you guys 3 games, 1 day. We're gonna have that. We're gonna recap that on Tuesday. Then starting after Tuesday, we're gonna talk about NFL bets and we're gonna talk about college bets. He's your NFL guy. I'm the college guy, but we do both. I mean, what am I only gonna bet on one sport? Absolutely not. All right.
Oh, it's the same sport, just different levels.
Yeah. See, and this is why he's the more intelligent one. But I'm not gonna just bet on college football because if there's NFL football playing, open the FanDuel, let it go. You know what I mean? But we'll be back next week with the actual whole slate. We have a lot of picks that we come with every week for most games, not every game, but we do most games for every slate, NFL wise, and then college wise we just pick the big games, especially since college season is winding down. But we'll get really into that with the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot more to talk about in college, scenario wise.
Yeah, there's tons of playoff drama, conference championship drama. So we'll get into that. Obviously NFL, we just did that. But that'll all start next week. We just want to start off a little soft with you guys this week.
Something fun.
Yeah, exactly. A little soft launch, something fun. And we'll be back in full swing next week, all right?
Go Dolphins!